Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Az, and today I'm going to be talking about some key tips to achieve a first class in your MH dissertation. Before I move on, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support that you've been showing us. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit subscribe, and let's get straight to it. So before I move on, I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown of what is the MH project. So after you completed third year and now you move on to your fourth year, you need to do another project. Now this project is much more bigger than your normal dissertation. You're going to be working in a group of 5 to 6 people and it is worth 4 modules. So in my case, it was worth half of my year grade. So when I did my dissertation for my MH, it was broken down into 4 sections. So you had your RAO, you had your SOTA, you had your dissertation, and then you had your Viva. Now the RAO is like a proposal that you do. So you want to talk about the ideas that you have and what you want to pursue. Now the SOTA is what is already out there, and it's an in-depth paper in which you talk about what material is out there, what work has already been done, and what value you're going to add. Then you had your final dissertation. So this is obviously the work you did with all your other colleagues, and then this is submitted obviously to your supervisor. And then you had your Viva. Now the Viva is your oral examination in which you justify your findings. You talk about what software you use, you talk about how many simulations you run, things like that. Whenever you're working in an MH project, you're going to be working with a lot of people, usually around 5 to 6. So my tip number 1 is make sure you allocate roles to each person in the team. So whenever you have your first meeting, you can allocate roles such as who's the project leader, who would be responsible for simulations, who would be responsible for CAD drawings, and this really allows you to identify key strengths. So you might have someone in your group who already knows the in and outs of SolidWorks or the in and outs of ANSYS. You also want to talk to someone who is a good researcher, also to someone who can provide good analysis. And if you can help find everyone's key strength, it will really help you out, especially in the long term if you do this right at the beginning. Tip number 2 is set weekly meetings. Now this is for your supervisor and for your team as well. So what I used to do is I used to set a meeting with my supervisor, and straight after that we had a meeting with just us guys. Now the reason why I say that is, number 1, when you have a meeting with your supervisor, you have some ideas of where you're going, and then it's still fresh in your brain. And then once you have your next meeting, you can allocate what you want to do, such as, oh, where we need to push forward in this, or do we need to add more simulations, etc. Also, make sure you write down the notes of what the meeting was said. Now the reason why I say that is because a lot of people might forget, especially as you have other modules you're working through. So by writing down these notes, maybe allocate one person to do this and maybe rotate every week so they can write the notes and then dish it out to everyone. Remember, this is one skill that you also want to practice because you're using this skill, especially in the professional life. Tip number 3, have a contingency plan. Now, I'm sure we've all been in situations, especially in group work at times at university, where a lot of people might not be doing their fair share of the work, or they might be going MIA. Now, this isn't to throw shade to anyone, but especially in my one, I had some issues such as that. So what I did was I spoke to my supervisor and he said, don't worry, if someone does go MIA or is not pulling their weight, just submit your part of the work and that will be marked. So having a contingency plan really helped me mentally as well, because I was panicking a lot thinking, oh, the deadline is coming soon, certain people haven't done their part of the work, what am I going to submit? But since he told me that, that really relieved my mind. Tip number 4, make sure you proofread all the work that you've done, whether it's to submit your RAO, your SOTA, or your final dissertation. Now the reason why I say that is because remember, you're working with multiple people. Now, when you're working with multiple people, the chances of errors are much more higher, because remember, you're not the only one just doing the work. So what you should do is you should collate it all into one PDF and then go through it line by line, make sure the grammar is right and make sure the spelling is right. Tip number 5, so you submitted your RAO, your SOTA, your dissertation, now you're moving over to the Viva. Now the Viva is one key part of the project, and it is a one-to-one conversation that you have with your supervisor talking about what you specifically did in this group project. So in my case, I had to talk about the CFD simulations that I used ANSYS for. Now I had to talk about the specific variables I use, the specific environments I use, stuff like that. And you have to make sure, especially it depends on your supervisor, you have to make sure you know a lot about it. So obviously since you run the simulation and you've practiced this before, you need to write down every specific key detail that you did. Remember, this is your 15-minute slot to show to the supervisor that you made a real contribution to this project. That's all I have for today, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have more videos coming out in the future, and make sure you watch out for them.